Hi everyone, welcome back to Raina Teachings. Tonight I'm going to go into trance and let Raina speak about healing trauma and really her perspective on what trauma is. I know this is a very touchy subject for some of you, and it's interesting what her perspective is. But before I get into it, if you are new here, my name is Camacho, and I am the trance channel to a beautiful being named Raina. And together we help you to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness. And for those of you whose platform is Instagram or you are on Instagram, I post things there that you will not find here on YouTube. And please like and subscribe here if you'd like to get notified of any future videos. All right, I'm going to head off into trance and get into it. Greetings, RD Physical Angels. We are Raina. We wanted to speak about the subject of trauma and healing trauma in particular. First, what is trauma? We would speak about it as an energy signature that has been downloaded into your body, your cells, your psyche. It is something that is largely invisible, yet can affect you on a physical basis. Why is that? There are many different types of trauma. There are some things you experience that you may not consider trauma now as an adult, but to a child. Anything that they are not ready for can be considered a trauma. Anything they were not emotionally ready to handle, they did not have the coping skills at the time, can create trauma. So there is a wide spectrum of what is considered trauma. So we will simply say that it is an energy signature that your body holds onto and your ego uses in order to help predict your future. Now, why would they do this? The ego will hold on to memories, experiences, in an effort to keep you safe. If it remembers that something was traumatic to before, it is doing its job by keeping it, holding on to it, even if you currently do not remember it. The ego has access to what is there in your mind, your psyche. And it will use this seeming trauma, no matter how small, in order to keep you from experiencing such a thing again. If there is a traumatic experience that was so traumatic, you don't even remember it, or you were simply too young to remember it, this is another reason, your psyche will file it away in an effort to keep you from re-experiencing it or thinking about it so that you can function. However, parts of your mind remember, your body remembers, your ego remembers. Therefore, when you come up on an experience that is similar or threatens the ego with a similar like experience, the ego will do everything in its power to keep you from experiencing that. And it may not make any sense to you. You may, as an example, want to go ziplining, but this triggers a time where maybe you almost stepped off of a cliff and died. Maybe you were a child and someone pulled you back and you don't remember it, but your ego remembers it in order to keep you safe. So how can you heal these traumas? Every human being experiences some level of trauma. Every single one. There is not a one of you, no matter how wonderful your childhood may have been, that hasn't experienced some level of trauma in your life. It is simply part of being human. Humans experience traumatic events as a way to learn lessons and, yes, to go back and to heal them. And it is in the healing that there is growth for your soul. And that is what we are most interested in speaking of. So how do you heal these traumas? There are many different ways. Of course, the bigger the trauma, the more healing is needed, the more time is needed. If a trauma is too deep, you cannot just go in and dig all of it out at once. It will come to the surface slowly. Why? Because your body will experience physical symptoms as you try to heal it. Therefore, there must be time, steps taken in that healing. For some of you, that may mean that you see a type of healer or therapist that assists in that healing. For others of you, you prefer to go about your own healing, and we will say assistance with traumatic events is necessary in some way. Our own channel has worked to heal many of her own traumatic events through meditation and even through her channeling with us. However, there are times where assistance from the outside is needed. So please take that if that is something that you feel that you need. We know that some traumatic events are embarrassing possibly, and you don't want to speak to anyone about it. Take your time with it. Work with meditation and breathing. Working with your breathing and meditation is a wonderful way to bring up traumatic events, and your higher self will not allow certain traumas to come up if it isn't something that you can handle on your own. They may be very small, and you may breathe them up literally, see them and simply release them with the emotion that is attached to the trauma. So let us speak about that. Emotion is a necessary component to healing trauma. Generally speaking, when a traumatic event happens, there is no time or space for you to feel the emotions that arose during the event itself. Maybe you should have cried or gotten angry, but you weren't able to. That emotion becomes trapped with the experience. Part of healing trauma means, as you bring up the traumatic event to heal, you will also be bringing up the emotion that got lost. It doesn't mean that it wasn't there. It was. But your shadow might have taken that emotion in order to help you cope in the moment. It might have meant your survival in order to not experience the emotional component so that you could act quickly, or not act at all if that is what was appropriate. But now you can. Now you can. As a traumatic event rises, you will begin to feel the emotion that you might not have been able to feel in the moment. Do not run from this. Allow it to surface. It will end in crying generally, or possibly anger, screaming, if that is appropriate, but allow the emotion to arise with your traumatic event. This is a key to healing it. You can't release something if you are still holding on to the emotion itself. We are not suggesting that you artificially create it either. However, sometimes artificially creating something like crying by listening to a song that may help you to cry, and then transferring it to a meditation where you are healing this particular trauma can sometimes assist you in getting to the depths of it. If it does not work or you are unable to access it, it just means that it isn't yet time. So breathing, meditation and focusing on your trauma. not mentally, but visually, allowing it to come to the surface and then asking your higher self to assist. Higher self, how can I heal this traumatic event? Some of you know what your traumatic events are. You know that they get in the way of you creating in your life. They may get in the way of relationships, of you creating your purpose, or simply moving forward into the world. We ask that you not hold on to these, but to attempt, no matter how small a way, to bring your trauma to the surface, to begin healing it. And again, it will not happen overnight. Some small ones can, but larger ones will slough off like an onion, just taking the outer layer off, just looking at it the first time, allowing any emotion to arise that might be there with it. Then with the next layer of that onion, bringing it up in meditation and asking your higher self to help you to heal it. We do this often by either changing the events or going in and doing what is necessary, what should have happened. What should have happened during that traumatic event that might have made it not traumatic? There is a number of ways to do this, but that is one of our suggestions. Then allowing the emotion to arise. Anything in your past can be healed, can be changed. Not in the order that it happened, but it can be changed in spirit. Once something is past, it is much like a deceased loved one. It is spirit now. Even the event itself is spirit. A traumatic event sits inside of you much like a ghost may sit inside of a house. Trauma creates a haunting inside of the body. That haunting is there in order for you to go in and to heal, to become whole. It isn't there to re-traumatize you, but is there for you to create growth for yourself, to release it, to allow it to no longer sit in your cells in a negative manner. And with that, love is sent without constitution, the physical angels. Good day and good night.